You are listening to the Wealth Formula Podcast with Buck Joffrey. Get ready to change your life.
Welcome, everybody. This is Buck Joffrey with the Wealth Formula Podcast, coming to you from Montecito, California. Today, before we begin, I do want to remind you that there is a website associated with this podcast. It's called wealthformula.com, where there is a wealth of information about personal finance, free books, webinars, all that stuff. And then you can get on a bunch of useful lists too, like the list to get onto our accredited investor list. If you are an accredited investor and you want to join what we call Investor Club, and you're interested in potentially deploying capital that is otherwise sitting on the sidelines, join the Investor Club at wealthformula.com. Also, if you're interested in joining our private community, make sure to consider Wealth Formula Network. This is basically a network of individuals online, but it starts out with a course with a bunch of people you probably know, like me and Tom Wheelwright and King McElroy, and talking about the basics of personal finance. Then we kind of shift in after the course into the community, which involves a Facebook group and, of course, our bi-weekly Zoom video calls. And this is probably the most exciting part for people after they've gotten a chance to get their background knowledge to really take it to the next level. Anyway, you can learn more about that at wealthformularoadmap.com. Now, as for today, I want to talk to you a little bit about what I might call potentially the next crypto revolution, the next way to potentially make ridiculous amounts of money for no apparent reason other than being in the right place at the right time, catching a wave going up, and hopefully it doesn't go back down. But you can look at this kind of stuff and say, it's not my thing, and it doesn't seem real. I mean, I still remember listening to Peter Schiff and the Peter Schiff podcast. It was about 7 years ago. I still lived in Chicago. I was at the tail end of what I would call my Austrian Economic phase. It's sort of, it's almost like a teenager phase for me in that sense for my personal financial life. But my Austrian Economic phase, I still believed in everything that Peter said was true, gold and the economy is always doomed, etc. And I was sitting there at my computer listening to Peter one day, I remember, and he was making fun of something called Bitcoin, right? And he was making fun of it. It was making some waves at the time. It was making some news. It was, it was like $300. It was like on one of those upticks for Bitcoin, and people got super excited about it. But he made it sound so completely ridiculous that I never took it seriously. Even when I heard others speak of it favorably, I just ignored them. And I thought, well, you're just financially unsophisticated. What do you know? Now, don't get me wrong. This is not actually a knock at Peter Schiff. He's a very smart guy, and I don't blame him for sticking to his guns. He believes in something, almost like religion for him to be like, about the whole Austrian economic thing. Peter still thinks Bitcoin's going to go to zero. I mean, that's what he says. I mean, I don't know if he truly in his heart thinks that that's going to happen, but I know he thinks it should. The mistake that was made was not his, was mine, because, listen, there was this buzz, right? And this thing of Bitcoin that was $300 at the time. Now it's like, 37,000, I think, as the time of this podcast, at least. It's gone up to over 60,000. And I actually think it's going to go to 250,000 over the next 5 years. And I think that's a conservative estimate in my view. In fact, if I had been more open to it at that time, I would have noticed that a lot of very smart people were actually making calculated bets on this, that they felt like, maybe you're not betting the farm, but you're making some pretty significant, at that time, what would be considered asymmetric bets. And if I'd listened to them, I probably would have, taken it more seriously, but I wasn't paying attention. Okay. Now, of course, I got into cryptocurrency in 2017, so I still got it before most people, but not, 2014, 15 when I was, first hearing about this stuff. So for me, that's kind of a mistake. It was a mistake because I let what one person ultimately said about it so influenced me that I didn't get involved and enjoy 100x on my money. Even if I'd gone in there for a little bit, a small amount, it would have turned out to be a lot. And that didn't happen in Bitcoin. So I consider that a little bit of a mistake, again, because I wasn't open to it. And on that end, though, any mistake, especially since, I'm in the personal finance space, investment mistakes for me, they happen. Of course they happen. I am not invincible. But one of those things that I will tell you that makes me a little bit different from others is I really, really try to make sure that when I make a mistake, I understand what the mistake was and I try to learn something from it. Okay? So what was one of those lessons that I learned back then? Well, it's actually really simple. Pay attention when people get excited about stuff and when there's buzz about something new, different, because it's not always just a little fad. Sometimes it could turn into, blockchain. Sometimes it could turn into Bitcoin. Sometimes it could turn into the internet, which I still remember seeing some, I don't know, it was like some article in the Washington Post back in the 90s talking about how the whole internet thing was a big fad. Anyway, I guess not. So what is that buzz right now? Well, the buzz right now is in something called non-fungible tokens, NFTs, as the kids say. And this is a phenomena related to distributed ledgers and cryptocurrency. And many are calling the NFT and Metaverse technology, and I guess their assets too, the next horizon in cryptocurrency. And it's still really in its infancy where, there's you potentially are getting in at something relatively early. Now, if you don't get it, if you don't understand NFTs, you're not alone. By the way, you should go back and listen to Ask Buck shows to get a little bit of my take on NFTs. But this is an unusual area that it's somewhat difficult to understand for some of us old fogies. But that's the reason you should be paying attention. After all, for those of you who now are sold on Bitcoin, remember the time when you didn't understand it and when you first heard about it? You might have been like me, which just sounds kind of silly. Anyway, bottom line is there's real potential here to make money. I'm convinced of it, but I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in this area, and I kind of wish I was, because I think it's a place where people are going to make a lot of money. I did find an expert, though, and that is who we're going to talk to about NFTs when we come back after these messages. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, my guest on Wealth Formula Podcast is Matt Fortnow. Now, Matt is an entrepreneur. He's a producer, a lawyer, writer. He's a tech expert, and he's been involved in creating the official NFTs for iconic brands such as the Three Stooges. He's the author of the NFT Handbook, How to Create, Sell, and Buy Non-Fungible Tokens. Matt, welcome to Wealth Formula Podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Matt, I gotta tell you, this is a very timely podcast. Of course, it is an interesting time because we, until very recently, obviously, we were just seeing cryptocurrency and Bitcoin values going up and up and up. And so, just like in 2017, it got everybody's attention, and then now we're kind of in a little cycle here. But in the meantime, one of the things that has really come up in this cycle is the concept of NFTs, and everybody's talking about NFTs. Now, why don't we start with something very basic? How would you describe NFTs to a group of doctors, other kinds of professionals and business owners who have no idea what they are?
Okay, think of an NFT as a digital collectible on the blockchain. Now, we should go a little deeper into what the blockchain is. The blockchain is the technology that's the foundation of all cryptocurrencies. So you could think of it as an NFT like a cryptocurrency, whereas Bitcoin has about 18 some odd million coins in circulation. An NFT has a supply of just one. So that's what makes it unique. And that's where the NF comes from, the non-fungible. So whereas dollars are fungible, I can exchange 5 for 5 ones. NFTs are non-fungible, like diamonds. Each one is unique with respect to color, cut, clarity, and size, etc. So the blockchain also verifies the author of the creator of the NFT and its scarcity on the blockchain, and also the NFT's provenance, the list of owners from the original creator to the current owner. It's all visible and transparent on the blockchain.
What kinds of things? Let's talk about the types of things that currently are very popular creations on the blockchain as NFTs.
Well, certainly digital art and digital collectibles are very popular. There's also digital land, which is digital real estate in the virtual worlds, the metaverses, in-game items. So an item that you use in a video game is a popular NFT. NFTs can also be made ENS domain names, and there's several other functions and utilities for NFTs as well.
Let me ask you this. This is I have tried to kind of wrap my arms around NFTs for some time, and I get it when it comes to like gamers who are on they're spending half their day or most of their day online, and they want a sword that looks really cool, and they get they get something online for that, or other types of situations where people are spending an enormous amount of time online where something actually there may be less of a distinction between the virtual world and the real world. But when it comes to things like art, like who's is it just a generational thing at this point? Like, I mean, if you have art, I mean, people often like to show art, or they collect cars. They like to have the physical thing. Who are these appealing to demographic-wise?
Well, demographic-wise, it's people who are into cryptocurrencies generally. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of cryptocurrency whales out there that have invested in NFT art. And the great advantage of NFT art is, whereas in the past, any digital file, like an image, for example, you could just transfer around the internet, you can email it, you can post it on social media, and there's really no way to monetize any digital art. But with an NFT, the NFT can guarantee that the certain owner is this person who created the art is the actual creator, just by looking up on the blockchain. So you can actually create now an original digital piece of artwork that can't be copied. So of course you can actually copy the actual digital file, but the NFT itself cannot be copied the same way you cannot copy a Bitcoin.
And I mean, what's the value of that? Do you if you have a digital art, you just, is it a way to just protect intellectual property the same way a copyright or something like that would be?
No, the value of digital art, say the value of Picasso painting could be millions or tens of millions of dollars because he's an established artist. So similarly, one of the most popular artists is an NFT artist is Beeple, and he established himself as a digital artist for over 10 years. He's been making digital art every day and has built a community, and it never really intended to monetize on his digital art. But when the NFT technology became available, it was an opportunity for him to monetize that. And because of the community he's built up and his reputation, that's what gives the value to his art. And in one of his pieces, his first 5,000 everyday's collage sold for $69 million.
Wow. That's amazing. And then when you have access to that NFT, is it just that you own it? I mean, is there a way to express that you own it? I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
There's various ways to express how you own your NFT. So first, people can go to your OpenSea profile. Now, OpenSea is the largest marketplace, which is on the Ethereum network, and you can go to anyone's profile and see what NFTs they have there. There are other places where you can display your NFTs. A lot of people are building museums and galleries in the metaverse to display their NFTs. And there's also screens, large screens in your house. You can display your NFTs as well.
You mentioned metaverse because ultimately that's what this is about, right? It's about a universe that's in this virtual world. For those people who have heard that word thrown around, metaverse, now that we know what an NFT is, can you tell us a little bit more exactly how what metaverse is? How popular is it already, and where is it headed?
Okay, the metaverse, the word metaverse, the term is really thrown around a lot, but it's not technically used accurately. The metaverse technically is one unified virtual world. And right now we have a bunch of different virtual worlds, each of which is calling itself its own metaverse, but they're all not unified at this point. Unified world, if you think of the book Ready Player One, the Oasis, where everybody interacts within the metaverse there. But each metaverse, like for example, Axie Infinity is a metaverse, which is also what's called a play to earn game, where you can play and earn crypto and NFTs while playing. So the metaverse are really just virtual worlds. They're better experienced with three virtual reality headset, but not necessary.
So you mentioned right now they're not, it's thrown around. There's multiple sort of metaverse. Is that itself sort of a, like when you think about cryptocurrencies now and various protocols, you've got some that are more popular than others. Obviously you got your Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and all that. Is there a competition right now amongst the different metaverses where these NFTs go?
Sure. Axie Infinity, 2 million people are playing Axie Infinity. That's very popular.
It's a game. Right?
Okay. That's a game. It's also metaverse. The Sandbox is popular. Decentraland is popular. And these virtual real estate prices in the metaverse have just been booming. It's been like a real estate boom in the metaverse. For example, Snoop Dogg recently bought a plot in one of the metaverses, and then people have started buying the land contiguous to his plot. The prices have skyrocketed.
That's fascinating stuff. Okay, so let me ask you this. So let's go to some of the technical aspect of this, because with the NFTs, the different types of protocols that they're built on, does it even matter? I know right now we've got a lot of, most NFTs are probably still built on Ethereum, but, there's other protocols. Does it matter how much of that, is transferable from one protocol to another, et cetera? Does it make a difference? Is there, are some types of NFTs more valuable than the other based on the underlying protocols?
Right. So the Ethereum is the most popular NFT blockchain. Now, the issue with Ethereum right now are the gas fees. Right. You may have heard that term. The gas fees are the transaction fees. Anytime you want to mint an NFT or transfer an NFT or buy or sell an NFT, there's a gas fee, and those gas fees have been very high because of the popularity and the congestion on the Ethereum network. Now, Solana is a separate blockchain, which is proof of stake, which is a different way of determining the validators for the transactions. Much less energy required for proof of stake. Additionally, the gas fees are minimal on the Solana blockchain. So Solana is up and coming, although Ethereum 2.0 is supposed to be coming out sometime in the relatively near future, which will be changing Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake, and also significantly reducing the gas fees there as well.
Yeah. Does it make a difference? From the NFT standpoint, it
does make a difference because, OpenSea, the most popular marketplace, is the place where, millions and millions of NFTs are sold and people have their collections there. So the collections, at this point, you can't really transfer NFTs from one blockchain to another. So you would have your Solana collection and you're separate from your Ethereum-based collection.
So there would be, theoretically, they'd be in different metaverse ecosystems. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you could say it like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Let me ask you. Obviously, in terms of this show, I mean, it's we're there's a bunch of investors here, and you hear about NFTs and how this is, maybe we don't understand it well, but nobody understood the internet before the internet was everywhere, and trying to understand, like, how do you get exposure to this market? How do you learn about it if you're an investor? Like, what types of things would you recommend people do as learning resources, and maybe to dip their feet into investments in this space?
Okay, I mean, first thing I would recommend is to read my book, because it's a complete step-by-step guide of how to create your NFTs, sell NFTs, and buy and collect NFTs.
And again, that's the NFT handbook, how to create, sell, and buy non-fungible tokens, available everywhere, I assume, like Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon is on Audible if you just like to listen. So in addition to that, I would spend a lot of time in Discord. Discord is the popular community chat app where each NFT project has its own server and channels where you can ask questions and learn about the various projects. Now, you mentioned at the beginning of the show that the crypto is very volatile. Now it's been down the past few weeks, and maybe turning around at this point. But also at the same time, the NFTs have retained their value through all this volatility and drops. I mean, there's been a lot of huge drops just within the past week. Ozzy Osbourne dropped his crypto bats. There's a huge drop, the Alpha Kongs. Additionally, the Nut Boys, they had a huge drop this past week. So these NFT drops, these what's known as generative NFT drops, are great ways to invest. The only thing is to try to find the right projects, because a lot of the projects don't take off. There's a lot of sniping that's going on as well. If you like the short-term trades, I'm more of a long-term holder, and it's just analyzing which projects would be the ones to get into. The way I do that, I spend a lot of time in the Discord. I see the size of the Discord activity, the responsiveness of the mods. Additionally, you want to see like who's involved in the project. Like, for example, the In-Betweeners project, Justin Bieber is heavily involved in that project. So see what celebrities are involved in projects, see who the whales, what they're following, what they're investing in.
Mm-hmm.
So
who are the, where do you buy these? Where do you buy NFTs? I mean,
okay. So the NFTs, I mean, you can just search on OpenSea for these collections, and you can buy the NFTs that are up for sale. Additionally, if you want to get in on the very beginning, you want to get in on the mint of these projects, and that's usually done on a separate website, the official minting site of these projects. And to even get in earlier at a better price, you want to get on the whitelist for these major projects. However, there's a lot of hurdles to jump through to get on the whitelist, such as, for example, inviting a certain number of people to the Discord server and leveling up to a certain level on the Discord server, which shows your participation in that server. So that could be time consuming, but even if you're not on the whitelist, getting in on the initial drop is a good way to grab a good price.
Help us understand, like right now, like this is pretty early. I mean, early enough where, people know what NFTs are and they've heard people talk about Metaverse, but I would say that, a majority of people who are like me, Gen Xers, most of us don't really have a very good concept of this and where it's headed. Tell us, what's the vision? I think that, that people who believe in, these NFTs, who are investing in them in the Metaverse, say 10 years from now, like what are we looking at? What kind of world is that?
Okay, so with the Metaverse, I just say there's still a lot of opportunities to purchase land in these Metaverses. I mean, people are still, like you're saying, we're still at the beginning. Even though prices have risen dramatically, we're still in the beginning stages, and there's a lot of room for growth. Now, where I see the future of NFTs going is the utility that the NFTs can provide. So a lot of these NFT projects, they provide access. For example, Gary Vaynerchuk's VFriends NFTs provide access to Gary himself and other events that Gary has. But even beyond that, NFTs that can provide utility, like it seems like currently the NFT craze is similar to the beginning crypto craze with all the ICOs in 2017, and also the beginning internet craze. All you had to say was .com, and people would invest in it. But it's the real utility that has a long-lasting value. So, for example, a potential utility that NFT could provide is in the future, I believe all event tickets, for example, to a concert, show, sporting event ticket would be an NFT. And the advantage that provides is that a lot of these shows and sporting events, there's scalpers buy up huge blocks of tickets and resell them multiple times the value. And the event promoter or the sports league, they don't share in that increased value. And, people have less opportunity to get these tickets. Whereas if the tickets were an NFT, there would be an efficient market where everybody has a chance to bid and purchase these aftermarket tickets, which would be NFTs. And additionally, the concert promoter or the sports league could participate in a percentage of the resales of those NFTs. And on top of that, you have a collectible, like a souvenir from the game, your NFT that you were there. And say, for example, something historic happens at the game, then that NFT may even have some value going forward.
Right. Ends up in the Hall of Fame, right?
Right.
That's right. And that kind of brings me to the question of how do you see, the NFT world, the distributed world, I guess, interacting with major corporations? And, it's a little hard to understand for me because NFTs, when I think of NFTs and cryptocurrency, I think of distributed ledgers, not corporate America. I think about, a lot of the people owning, and with NFTs, of course, you own the one thing. So, in those situations, you would need partnerships with corporate America. And fundamentally, is that where this is headed?
Well, some corporations now, like Adidas is getting into the game with NFTs, and certainly the NBA is really raking it in with their NBA Top Shot collectible NFTs. So a lot of corporations now are looking at NFTs more as branding, community building, as more of as a marketing play. But there's still a lot of technology, especially with the Web3, which connects the blockchain to the internet, to websites. So, for example, an NFT could be used as a license for a particular software, like, for example, the crypto babies. So there's a lot of utilities that haven't really been explored in full that NFTs could provide beyond just collectibles and branding and marketing.
Do you see there being any effect on the traditional collectible markets like art and music, those types of things? Do you see any, negative impact on the way things are done right now with the physical collectibles?
Yeah, I do see negative impact on physical collectibles and on the traditional art market. But in fact, I think that's a good thing because the authenticity of NFTs are easily verifiable. You just look on Etherscan or another block explorer and you see, okay, is that the author who created the NFT? Yes or no? And the complete provenance is right there on the blockchain. Whereas when you're dealing with the physical art world, they have these so-called connoisseurs who try to summon the presence of the artist to determine whether a painting is authentic or not. And it's really rampant forgery, and and in fact, you don't really know if a painting is authentic or not in the physical art world. There's no way to guarantee that. So with respect to NFTs in the collectibles market, same thing goes. A lot of doctored, baseball cards and fake forged autographs on items, fake used game items. So there's a lot of rampant forgeries in the physical collectible world as well. So with NFTs, that the blockchain guarantees its authenticity. So I do see a negative effect on the physical collectible and art market, but in fact, I think that's a good thing.
Great. This is fascinating stuff, Matt. The book, again, is the NFT Handbook, How to Create, Sell, and Buy Non-Fungible Tokens. Matt Fortnow, Fortnow. Find the book everywhere, Amazon, and read it, learn it. Don't miss the bus on this. Also, Matt, there's a website that you have, which is blockchainguys.com. What kinds of stuff can we find there?
Well, Blockchain Guys, that's just the blockchain consultancy. So consulting on mostly blockchain issues. That was founded back in 2017. More recently, I also have powerupnfts.com. That's more of an NFT consultancy. So whether you're interested in blockchain or NFTs, you can reach me there.
Great. Matt, thanks so much for being on Wealth Formula Podcast. We'd love to have you back again in the near future.
Yeah, thanks so much. This was great.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. I mean, to me, again, I'm still like, my head's sort of spinning about this stuff. Like, how do I get involved? Maybe start out with the book, that our guest is talking about, and then move on from there. But I do think there's a great opportunity here. I do think this whole NFT and Metaverse thing is going to end up being a much bigger part of our life. I can't even imagine in which ways right now, but it's going to infiltrate, a significant part of our entertainment, the way we do things, certainly everyday stuff like tickets and things like that. So pay attention to it, do some homework on it, but at the same time, be careful not to, start listening to, people who have no clue what they're talking about and get caught up in some of these schemes, especially in the podcast ecosystem, which is often the realm of charlatans. Of course, I don't consider myself a charlatan, but there are plenty of charlatans in the space for sure. Anyway, that's it for me this week on Wealth Formula Podcast. This is Buck Joffrey signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth Formula Podcast. Visit us on the web at wealthformula.com. The information contained in this podcast are opinions, not fact. As always, consult your own financial team before making any investment. See you next time.